Welcome into the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about this new record from Slipknot entitled The End so far. They released that on September 30th. This is the 7th studio album for the 9-piece from Iowa and their follow-up to 2019's We Are Not Your Kind. A hell of a statement, and arguably this band's most experimental effort to date. It's why I really enjoyed it, and it's why I'm always so stoked to hear about new music from Slipknot. This is a band that is constantly testing the limits, pushing the boundaries of what they can do with their signature sound, twisting and bending and pulling, but never breaking it. And I admire them so much for that. This is a group of cats that with every record they make, they want to challenge themselves and move forward into the future. And while that doesn't always sit well with everybody, I know that I enjoy it, and I love this band for that reason. And it's with all that in mind that I want to make a handful of points. And the first is that I feel like there's two camps when it comes to this band. I know a number of people that would love to see this band just settle into the mold of albums like their self-titled debut, Iowa, maybe even Volume 3, the subliminal verses, some of the material on those records. But I'd argue that if that's the sound that you want, those records are there. They exist for a reason. You can always go back and listen to them. I feel like you have a group of 9 individuals, which to have them on the same page creatively is quite a challenge and pretty impressive in and of itself. But as we grow and as things change, you have to adapt to that. And so I think that this band has done a really marvelous job of continuing to adapt over the years while still maintaining their sound. And I love it. I love some of the softer elements of their music, especially on this record. And it shows off Corey Taylor's range as a musician. I mean, the man can scream, he can rap, he can croon, he can do it all with his voice. He really is impressive. So why waste that? Why not throw that into the mix and see what you can do with that creatively? And I think that they are succeeding just so successfully on this record as well. It's a super fun effort. I'm really digging the opening track, Adderall, and the mellow nature of that. We'll get into it with the track rundown. The second point I wanted to make is, as far as moving into the future and growing, this is a band that endured a lot through the 2010s. Losing original member Paul Gray, their bass player, he passed away in 2010. Joey Jordison, their original drummer, and another original founding member left in 2013. We found out a few years later that he was suffering from some neurological disorders, and it's unfortunate that his time with the band had to end that way. And sadly, passing away in his sleep last year, it's been a lot for this band to have to deal with. Also, the departure of Chris Fenn. He was a big, consistent member in that percussion unit for a very long time, and I just feel that with these last 2 records, with the changes that have occurred in their lineup, that they've been able to settle into that, that new lineup and really dial into their creativity and to be on the same page. So that's the second point I wanted to make as far as these guys moving forward. And, I feel like if they didn't have that mindset, they wouldn't be a band still. They wouldn't be making music at all, but especially not making music of this quality. The third point I want to make too is that I feel Slipknot, it's just so unfair how they get lumped in with the new metal category. And there's a lot of those bands that I absolutely love too. And it almost feels like a pejorative term. Like growing up when I did, being a teenager in the late 90s, especially when Woodstock 99 went down, you see bands like Korn and Limp Bizkit, the fiasco that show was. And I feel like at no fault of their own, just doing what they were there to do, put on a hell of a show, which both of them did. Their genre sort of received this negative connotation. And so Slipknot, I feel, has never really fallen into the new metal category. If you want to sit there and describe bands like Korn and Limp Bizkit like that, they're progressive and they incorporate a number of different elements into their music, which is what the new metal genre is all about. But I would say that this band, they definitely fall more in line with some of those classic thrash metal outfits. I think of Pantera. I think of Anthrax. I think of, Machine Head and Meshuggah moving forward into the 90s. This is a band that no matter what they're doing, whether it's soft or funky or electronic or wherever they're at, they're still driven fundamentally by those bands and by that sound. So I'm so impressed with how far they've come. These last 2 records, especially the 2010s, was just a rough decade for these guys, and they managed to persevere and just bring it. It's really a pleasure having this record, kicking off with the song Adderall. And I mentioned it's pretty mellow. This is arguably one of the most mellow moments that I think Slipknot has ever delivered for us. Programmed intro provides us really somber mood. You get these mellow drums that enter that provide the bass of a just really chill track. You got a little bit of piano. This bouncy bass adds this slight funkiness to the song. Chorus is light and soaring. You talk about that crooning that Corey's capable of. It reminded me a lot of when Trent Reznor gets a little mellow with 9 Inch Nails. And I just, as an album opener, it's amazing. As a song on its own, it's amazing. I love that first track. The Dying Song, Time to Sing, is your second track. Vocal intro ushers in that hard, heavy sound that we all know. So if you listen to that first track and you were kind of afraid, don't be. The heaviness is there. I love the wild percussion on this track, the wave of guitars that the Dying Song is bringing. It's definitely a great way to follow up the mellowness of Adderall. The Chapeltown Rag is your third song. Unique percussion to open. I really dig that element of the song. Heavy. This thing, it hits a lot with the double bass. And then you got that thrash feel as well. I like the heavy sound of this song. A lot of scratching on this, and that's another thing that I love about this record, more so than a lot of the records. And I would say, maybe more so than like their first two records, but Sid Wilson is killing it, just scratching the hell out of every record he probably owns on this album. And I think his presence adds so much to the texture and the layers of this music. I love his presence on this album. I think that's all I had to say about that. Oh, no. It's what I love about the chorus too, is that it enters this melodic territory. And that's another great thing about Slipknot too, is that they're very aware of the grooves, of the melodies, all of these things that, a lot of people don't necessarily associate with metal music, but these guys always execute, killing it in that regard. Yen is your fourth song. Another programmed intro provides the backdrop for Corey's voice. He's got this gentle scratching that's Sid is working with. I love the vibraphone element, I think, is what's working with on this song. Chorus is going to take a heavier feel, and I like the way that builds in and carries the track to the end. Hive Mind is your fifth song. Really trippy intro, ushers in heavy guitars. Percussion just rips in with more of that furious double bass. I love the riff on this track. A really nice guitar riff. Chorus enters more of that melodic territory. I really dig that element of this music. I feel like on this album you get a lot of those more melodic sort of soaring choruses. They definitely are very catchy. And I love this line, "Don't drown despite your critics. Just blow a kiss goodbye." That is such a dope line from Corey. I absolutely love that. The haters are always going to hate. Don't let them tear you down in the process. Just blow them a kiss. Let them hate. Warranty, your sixth song, heavy riff to open. I love the other elements that build in to create just a really frenzied rocker. This song it's got some pretty intense music on display here. Might be the heaviest track on the record as well. Gonna flip this thing over here. Machine for the Dead is your seventh song. Spooky programmed intro. I love the gentle arpeggiated riff that joins that. The drums enter and build in to create just a really hard sounding mid-tempo groove. It's a great rocker. I love that, talking about that groove. It just sort of sneaks up on you, sneaks into the track. Really nicely done. And I love the chorus on this song as well. Acidic, your eighth song. Another programmed intro, gives way to a big drums. Love the verse on this song. Thick driving bass. It's got more of an industrial feel on this track. Love the guitars. They're simple, but they're big. I really dig that aspect of it, where, in a lot of thrash metal, you get a lot of technical work in the guitar. There's some great moments on this album where the guitars are just, again, they're simple, but big, and they create such an outstanding atmosphere. Heirloom is your ninth song. Big drums, feedback to open. I love the heavy riff on this. More scratching from Sid. This thing settles into another solid heavy groove, and I love the melodic coda to finish this thing. Your 10th track, Hell, it's spelled H377, and this might take you back. If you're roughly my age, if you remember those old calculators when we were all little kids in elementary school, you could type in 1134, and if you flipped it upside down, it spelled hell. Oh no. So I think that's what's going on with this track as far as the title. If you see it spelled out that way, it's pretty interesting. It made me laugh, took me back. I love that about that. Lots of feedback to open this thing up. Big stomping drums. Going to carry the vocal with just a rapid fire vocal. I love that part of it. Ripping double bass on this song. Again, love the grungy feel of the hook. It leads into your penultimate track, Desadie. Love that light percussion, the arpeggiated riff to open. Maintains a big sludgy groove. Like this as a penultimate track. Cool bass, almost kind of in ballad territory. It's a pretty interesting way to lead into your final song, Finale, your 12th track, acoustic ballad. I love the thick tone of the piano and the additional guitar that comes in. Strings enter, it caught me completely off guard. I love that element though. The slow build evolves into this mid-tempo metal groove. It's just a phenomenal way to close out another phenomenal record from this 9-piece. We're going to vinyl please the end so far. And, you know, let's hope that this isn't the end. I doubt it. The title alludes to, Corey was talking about it, how the first phase of the band kind of feels like it's over. And this is the beginning, these last 2 records of this second life for Slipknot. And I think it's outstanding. I think this second phase of the band is going to prove to be, a spot where these guys make some of their best music, arguably. I love those older records. I love that heavy sound, but I love that these guys are constantly trying to just evolve that sound and do something different. And more often than not, they succeed. It's pretty difficult to find bands that can experiment as much as these guys do and consistently hit the nail on the head. But with that in mind, you're going to get a vinyl please. Hope you enjoyed this album. Hope you find this review helpful as well. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel. Do all the things to help us blow this project up in 2022. And stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. We will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.